And all the ships at sea, yes. Glad that everyone's here today. Glad to welcome you to our services. We had a good Sunday school lesson. I think it kind of burned all of us here about following the Lord and things of this world that can take us away from that. But we are glad that you're here today. We have, the reason I'm up here is Brother Dornan is in Arkansas on purpose. So visiting some of his old stomping grounds back there. I'll be gone for a couple of weeks, so remember to keep him in prayer, and Sister Jenny also, as they're traveling and looking around and visiting. And they're probably getting wet. There's a storm there I saw coming up, but we're not wet. We're hot. We're wet from sweat here. They said, well, it's only 115, but it's a dry heat. 115 is too hot anyway. I don't care, dry, wet, or otherwise. But Lord made it that way, so we'll accept it and go with it. And so also remember Brother Pfeiffer. We got good word that he's home now and doing well. Yay! That's always good there. So remember him, that he might continue to improve and everything might go well with that. And we're glad that the Sterlings got back okay, and Sister Gloria and all of them came back from their trips okay. And we have Brother Hoover and his family still being with them in prayer as they're trying to deal with those situations, and that things might just be okay. Are you guys okay, Brother? Okay. Brother Rick, I gotta keep my buddy healthy here and stuff. Yeah, so worry about that. And we have a visiting preacher this morning, Brother Atkinson. I say it right? Yes. Okay, yay. From the great metropolis of Kerman. Don't that I've ever been there. But, I'm only 67, so I got a while, to get there. But going to be with us this morning in just a few minutes here. We'll have that. We're going to have some singing. And we're going to be taking an offering. We'll have our regular offering, and then later on at the end of services, if you want to, as you go out there, we'll have the offering plate at the back. You can contribute something to help pay for his expenses. We're not paying him to preach. We're paying for his expenses to get here. And so remember that, and do as the Lord leads you in that. Is there anyone else have any announcements or anything? Business meeting tonight, 5 o'clock. We'll be meeting first for BTC, and then after that we'll have our business meeting this evening. Wednesday night, regular time, 7 o'clock. And who is it that's doing that? This Wednesday, Brother Kevin, okay, back there. Wednesday is that. Next Sunday is going to be Brother. Next Sunday is Brother Hoover here. You want to wrestle him for it there, Bobby? You could. That might be interesting. Okay, eager to serve. Yeah, there you go. So we're glad for that. And we do have Vacation Bible School coming up in this later in this month. I believe it's in July, a couple of weeks into the month here. And then, so just keep things going along there. We keep waiting for the Lord to come back and pray for his quick return. Okay, we'll have some songs now. So am I missing anything? Okay. Oh, we didn't have a prayer? Want to have someone to pray? Okay. Brother Chris, would you lead us in prayer?
Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you again for this time in your house, Lord. We thank you for all the blessings, Lord, the word on Mark. And we're so thankful and happy that your healing hand has been on him and returning him home now, Lord. We ask that you continue to watch him and his family. Lord, we ask you to be the pastor as he's away, Lord, help him to bring him home safely. We just thank you for the music preaching, Lord. And we just ask that you lay your hand on him, help him to provide your word to us
Good morning, everyone. Katie, we have to go. We have to go. Hope everyone's had a good week. It's been a warm week, like Brother Bill said. I appreciate Brother Chad and Brother Kevin filling in for me, teaching my class the last couple of weeks. I enjoyed sitting in Brother Chris's class. It's good to be taught, too. So I enjoyed that very much. But our first song this morning is Lord, I Lift Your Name on High. Page 107. Lord, your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the cross, my debt to pay, from the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the sky, to the death to pay, from the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. Very good. Appreciate Brother Shiloh filling in. I'm sure you're going to be filling in for a while.
I'm gonna get the quiet sticks soon, so.
Oh, there you go. We'll see if your dad gives them up. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
We appreciate you playing.
No problem.
Page 503, Since Jesus Came Into My Heart. What a wonderful change in my life that was brought since Jesus came into my heart. I have light in my soul and long I have sought since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. But the joy of my soul, like a sweet melody. Since Jesus came into my heart, I have ceased from my wandering and going astray. Since Jesus came into my heart, and my sins, which were many, are all washed away. Since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Let the joy of my soul, like the sea billows roll. Since Jesus came into my heart. I shall go there to dwell in that city I know. Since Jesus came into my heart. And I'm happy, so happy, as onward I go. Since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Since Jesus came into my heart. Let the joy of my soul, like a sea billows roll. Since Jesus came into my heart. Page 193, God is so good. On the last verse, we're going to stand, and we'll take the offering after this song. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. He's so good to me. He cares for me. He cares for me. He cares for me. He's so good to me. He loves me so. He loves me so. He loves me so. He's so good to me. Let's all stand. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. He's so good to me. We could have our ushers this morning. Brother Weston, you lead some word of prayer, please.
Dear Lord, for all those who are traveling today, Lord, just watch over them and keep them safe. Remember those who are sick and not feeling well. Just remember us upcoming work and school week, Lord. Just watch over us and just give us opportunities to witness to others. Help us to see those opportunities, Lord, and give us the words to say. Just bless the offering and Jesus' name, pray. Amen.
Amen. You may be seated.
Okay, we're going to sing I Know Who Holds Tomorrow. I don't know about tomorrow. I just live from day to day. I don't borrow from its sunshine, for its skies may turn to gray. I don't worry o'er the future, for I know what Jesus said. And today I'll walk beside him, for he knows what is ahead. Many things about tomorrow I don't seem to understand, but I know who holds tomorrow.
Every step is getting brighter as the golden stairs I climb. Every burden's getting lighter. Every cloud is silver lined. There the sun is always shining. There no tear will dim the eye. At the ending of the rainbow, where the mountains touch the sky. Many things about tomorrow I don't seem to understand, but I know who holds tomorrow, and I know who holds my hand. I don't know about tomorrow. It may bring me poverty, but the one who feeds the sparrow is the one who stands by me. And the path that be my portion may be through the flame or flood, but his presence goes before me, and I'm covered with his blood. Many things about tomorrow I don't seem to understand, but I know who holds tomorrow, and I know who holds my hand.
Gotta go to work. Thank you, Samantha, for your piano special. Shiloh and Blake, thank you. Anybody else? Am I missing anybody? Jessica smiled, so I thought maybe she had something I wasn't sure, so I didn't know about. Before I turn the service over to Brother Bill, our last song this morning is Shout to the Lord. Sing it twice through. My Jesus, my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. All of my days, I want to praise the wonders of your mighty love. My comfort, my shelter, tower of refuge and strength. Let every breath, all that I am, never cease to worship you. Shout to the Lord, all the earth has seen. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hand. Forever I'll love you, forever I'll stand. Nothing compares to the privilege I have in you. My Jesus, my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. never seem to worship you. Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hand. Forever I'll stand, forever I'll stand. Nothing compares to the promise I have in you. Thank you very much. Sound good this morning. Brother Bill.
Thank you, Brother Paul. Hello again. We're ready for our preaching portion of the service today. So, Brother Atkinson, I met several years ago. His wife was, is Ashley, formerly Simpson. And they were members with us at Merced, the Simpson family was. And we knew Sister Ashley for a long time. And whenever she said about getting married, I said, well, you have to get my approval first. I mean, I know Dad's okay, but, Brother Bill has to check it out okay first. So they came by, and we talked and visited, and so we gave her stamp of approval. So he's got that much going for me, whatever that's worth for him. But we're very happy for that. We heard that he was coming there. Brother Todd had asked about Brother Hendricks if he could come and help out. So we have him here, and he's got those endorsements also. And most of all, he's got the Lord helping him. So, Brother Atkinson.
Morning, morning, morning. Ooh, that was good. I liked that one. So, there's that little area you were talking about. Stand like this. So, I wanted to start today by just giving all y'all a quick little introduction of who I am. Because I'm sure 99.9% of you have no idea. Never met me, never seen, right? So, 14 years ago, 07, I married Ashley. And that's pretty much where everything interesting starts. Before that, I was just some young knucklehead just running around doing whatever I thought. We got married. I bounced around every little job you can think of. I worked fields, I worked in a restaurant, I worked in PetSmart, I was going around knocking on people's doors. Hey, how about you vote for this political candidate? Because I don't know what he stands for, but he's paying me to knock on your door and tell you to vote for him. So, then we hit this nice little low point, living in a trailer on my parents' property because I had no job, nothing going for me. And so I made the incredible decision at that point, I know I don't look it now, but I joined the United States Marine Corps because that was the solution. And you know what? At that point, it really was. God knows me. He knows that I don't remember dates at all, right? We had to set our anniversary, and the pin to my phone, my iPad and everything, 6607. That's the only way I remember it, right? On April 6th, 2012, is when I finally broke down and I accepted the Lord into my life. And it was, if you've ever met a Marine, they are stubborn. They are arrogant. and I was right there with all of them. And I was working what we called mid-crew at the time. I got to work about 9 o'clock, and I would get off of work about 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, whenever it was that the day crew would come in and relieve me. Well, on this particular day, on this particular April 6th, happened to be my birthday. And I was trying to get out a little early so we could hang out, spend some time with the kids and the wife and everything. And I ended up staying at work until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was furious. 15, 16-hour day. I went home just angry. We only had 2 kids at the time. Yeah, 2 at the time. I'm at 4 now. I think that's all of them. But I had 2 kids at the time. They were about 1 and 2 at the time. And I got home, and I was just angry at the world. Nothing was right. Nobody could do anything right. I was just angry. And I walked inside, and they were 2 and 3, because they could talk. Oof, they never stopped. I walked into the house, and Ashley and the kids had made me a birthday cake, and they were all excited, trying to make me feel better. And I walked in the house, and I looked at this cake that they had worked so hard to make. It was hideous. They tried to pipe it. They spelled my name wrong and everything. And like I said, I was angry, so I was finding every little thing I could. And I just looked at this cake, and I said, "That looks like crap." And I walked away. The kids started crying. Ashley came up, and she was like, "You need to pray." I said, "I don't want to pray. Praying's not going to do anything for me." And about 5 minutes later, she came in and checked on me. I had just gotten out of the shower, and I was just sitting in the bathroom just crying. She was like, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't want to be me anymore. I don't want to do this anymore." And right then and there, I asked the Lord in my life. And he did it on my birthday because he knew that everybody's going to ask, "When were you saved?" And I could say, "Hey, it was April 6th. I can actually remember that because it's my birthday." Right? Now, 7 years after getting out of the Marine Corps, I work at UPS. And I work the preload, and I love the job sometimes. I do the preload, so we're there from about, tomorrow they start at 4:15. So 4:15, we get there, we start loading up cars so they can deliver them all, right? My son loves it. He cracks up all the time, and I love this story now. He told me one day, he said, "Well, you work really hard, Dad." I said, "No, I don't." He said, "What? You go to work every day?" I said, "Yeah, but I'm a supervisor." He goes, "What does that mean?" I said, "That means I watch other people work really hard all day and yell at them that they're not working hard enough and tell them to go faster." But there was one thing that I picked up out of the Marine Corps. There were a lot of things, a lot of bad habits, a couple of good things I picked up. But one of those things that I picked up was these things called the general orders. Did anybody else ever serve? Yeah? We had the general orders, right? The general orders are your standing orders for when you're taking charge of a post, when you're standing duty, anything like that. So for example, I used to, once a month when I was in the Marine Corps, I had to stand a post. You'd have to stand 2 posts a month. One, you would have to stand at our warehouse, because we had a big warehouse full of airplane parts, and apparently the government doesn't like it when you leave a warehouse full of millions of dollars worth of airplane parts just sitting there with nobody watching it. Apparently that's a bad idea. But you also had to stand some kind of, we called them duty watches. You would have to watch at the duty hut or barracks duty, something like that. And you would have to stand 24 hours at this post. And these general orders were the orders that you had to follow while on any kind of post. And a couple weeks ago, I started thinking about those general orders, and I hated the general orders. You would stand there for a uniform inspection, and they'd come by, and you'd be standing there, and they'd come up, and they'd look your uniform over top to bottom, tell you all the ways that you were messed up, and why your uniform was wrong. That badge is 3/8 of an inch too far to the left, so you're wrong. And they would ask you all the time. They would stand there, and as they're checking your uniform, looking for little things sticking out of it, they would go, What's your 5th general order? Oh. That was never the right answer. But when you stood duty, they even had these things posted. The general orders for standing guard and all that. And a couple weeks ago, I started thinking about those general orders for some reason. And I hate those general orders, but I couldn't stop thinking about them. And then I couldn't stop but think how these general orders could apply to our Christian lives. And I was just sitting there, and I ended up typing into the computer, general orders for the child of God. So we're going to go over a couple of those. There's a lot of them, and I'm not going to hold y'all up here all day while I go through all, I think there's like 13 of them. But these orders are for somebody who's a watch, the watchman, the guard, the sentry. Isn't that what we are? We're here. We're the watchmen for the people of this world. I mean, I work with so many people, and I'm terrible at it, and I'm getting better, but so many of these people, and they don't know the Lord. And I get opportunities every day to talk to them about it. And 99% of the time, my wife tells me all the time, you're terrible at this and you need to get better, which I love that about her. She's always calling me out. But instead of taking that opportunity, I'll end up yelling at them, put the packages in the car. Get your job done. I get so wrapped up in the work that I forget about the work that I really should be doing, right? So the first general order, the way it's worded, is to take charge of this post and all government property in view. So to take charge is to take responsibility of something or someone, or to carry out the orders that are given to you. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 3. And keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, and his commandments, and his judgments, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. God tells us to keep his orders. He tells us to keep his charges, his commandments. That's straight up like the very first thing. And I thought it was interesting too, that's the very first general order, is to take charge, to take responsibility. For the longest time before I accepted God into my life, I never took responsibility. Even after I joined the Marine Corps and learned all this stuff and all the 3 months of boot camp, a month of combat training, 2 months of job training school, and I would get to work. Perfect example. Like I said, we had airplane parts. The MV-22 Osprey. It's that really cool one you always see in the movies that it flies like an airplane, but then it can turn the propellers up and hover like a helicopter. Awesome airplane. Falls out of the sky for no reason. It's great. $70 million. One blade, one of those 6 helicopter blades on that thing is $1.72 million. We were the central location for parts for the MV-22. So if anybody needed them anywhere, they would come to us. Hey, we need this, we need that, and we'd send it out to them. So we got a request one day for a blade to go to a boat, an aircraft carrier, at an undisclosed location, right? I just had to send it out to wherever they were going to make port. So I do up the requisition, I get the blade, we get it, we put it, take it down to the shipping area, drop it off. I'm out, I go on my weekend. I have to go to the rifle range the next week, so I'm all excited. I get to go and shoot guns for a week. And I get a call from my sergeant. He goes, hey, you remember that blade that you were supposed to send to Afghanistan? No. I sent the blade to the boat. Yeah, you messed that up. That was supposed to go to Afghanistan. Like I said, Uncle Sam doesn't like it when you lose track of a $1.7 million piece of airplane equipment. And even at that point, I didn't take responsibility for it. I was just like, well, I mean, obviously, FedEx screwed up. They obviously got the wrong tracking number. He's like, you made the tracking number. Well, I mean, obviously, Afghanistan screwed up and told me that they needed it on the boat. Obviously, it's their fault. You've got duty. Great. For 2 days, so I ended up having to spend Saturday and Sunday at the warehouse. I didn't take responsibility of it, right? And how many times, I mean, I'm probably the most guilty of it. How many times do we not take responsibility for the things we do when we trip up and we don't follow what God wants us to do? The nice thing about God is he loves us enough that he's not going to give us weekend duty for, X amount of days. He guides us. He comes alongside us. He sets that example that I wish as a dad that I remembered when I deal with my kids. I don't guide them gently. I don't say, hey, come on, you messed this up. Let's go. I go, are you kidding me right now? Why didn't you let the dogs out? Simple things. I screw up things. I tried to move to Alabama a couple months back. I don't think God wanted me over there, but he luckily straightened me out. He was like, nope, come on. You're going this way, not that way. We got to take responsibility, and you have to own even the mistakes that you made. We were talking about it this morning. Who wants to go and admit? Who's very good at self-evaluating, pointing out your flaws? There's more to it than just pointing out your flaws, though. You have to own those flaws, and you have to make adjustments for them. My memory is horrible. You will see me going like this and looking at this thing constantly because I don't remember anything. I tell people at work all the time, hold on. They'll tell me, hey, my paycheck got messed up. Can you fix that? I go, hold on. Let me find a paper and pen. Because if I don't write it down, and everybody at work knows it now, if I don't write it down, it's not going to happen. And they know it, right? But that's one of those weaknesses, one of those flaws that I have that I have identified and have tried to change it, right? All the things that God gave us, those are all gifts from him, right? Those are things that we have to take responsibility for too. And I see that a lot with parents. They don't like to take responsibility for their kids anymore. I've got a friend of mine that I work with. He's like, oh man, my kids are out of control. They're just a bunch of turds. I don't like them, blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, what are you doing? What are you doing, Dad, to fix that? Oh man, I whomped on him hard yesterday. It didn't do anything. Did you whomp on him hard yesterday too? Yeah. Did you ever think that's not working? It worked for me. Well, FYI, he was a Marine too, so he's just as stubborn, blockheaded as I get sometimes, right? We get in those moods where, well, it worked for me, so it should work. Your car, your family, your TV, your home, all these things, your job, they're all gifts, and they all need to be taken charge of. Everything you do, everything you own, you got to take responsibility. You have to own it, right? So the second general order, this one was always a fun one. To walk my post in a military manner, keeping always on the alert and observing everything that takes place with sight or hearing. I used to get hung up on this one because I always thought walk my post in a military manner meant the way I actually walked, right? And so I would take barracks duty. And especially when I was fresh in, I was nice and new, and I thought I was so cool, and I would walk my post. That's not what it's talking about. It's saying you walk the way you carry yourself. To walk in a military manner means you represent the branch of service. It's the way you carry yourself. When I walked my post, I was a United States Marine, and we were expected to act as such, right? They used to tell us all the time in training, they would tell you, if you do something, it's not going to say, hey, Stuart did this, Stuart did that. If you go and you get all drunk and crash your car and wipe out a family or something, it's not going to say, Stuart got drunk and killed a family. It's going to say, United States Marine gets drunk and kills family. We need to think about that like we would with God. That headline's not going to say, Stuart got drunk and killed a family. It's going to say, child of God got drunk and killed a family. Member of New Beginnings got drunk and killed a family. And I know that's kind of an extreme one right there. That's like, whoa. But everything we do, when I go to work and I slip up and I drop an F-bomb or something like that, and then I stop and I go, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have done that. I got to fix that, because that's what people are going to hear. There's a guy at work that I work with who talks about how great of a Christian he is all the time, but then walks around the building cussing like nothing I've ever heard. And people look at him and they say that, and you hear them say that, they go, oh, he's a Christian though. He's a child of God though, right? That's walking in a military manner. So let's see, Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, these things. Those are the attributes. The question was asked earlier, what's your fruit? What fruit are you bearing? Which is hilarious. I love it. I love how God just sneaks those little things in, because my wife right now is, right about now, she's getting ready to, she's teaching the youth, the children, about the fruits of the Spirit. And, oh man, I hate hearing it sometimes, because it really makes me take responsibility for the way I'm walking. What are the fruit that I'm showing? Am I showing the right kind of fruit? Am I taking the things that are good and just? Am I doing those things? It's really hard when you start. And somebody told me a long time ago, they said, whatever you go and something that you're going to preach or teach or devotion or anything like that on, that's going to be the thing that gut checks you the most at the end of the day. Because that's going to be the thing that you're going to start picking at yourself on, because you're going to be looking at yourself. Am I doing this? I'm about to go and stand in front of a group of people and talk about the way that they're walking in their lives. How am I walking in my life? Am I even close to what I should be? Oh, man. It really starts messing with you, actually. And the things that, being alert. You always want to be alert. Actually, it's funny, is it, yeah, that's being alert. Hang on, I got ahead of myself there. Be always alert. You never know when some sort of attack is going to come at you. Things could be going good, and then some sucker punch comes from somewhere in the back, and if you're not ready, it will knock you straight to the ground. So I did, my job training school was in Meridian, Mississippi. And there were 4 different barracks at the school, right? And we had to walk those posts. And so you either had 1 building, 2 building, or 3 building, or you got the really good one of Rover, where you had to walk all 3 of them. And so you would have to walk around the first floor, walk around the second floor, then go all the way. And they weren't close. They were like probably a half a mile apart, each one. And so you have to walk over to barracks number 2, walk the bottom floor, and you had to do it for like 2 hours every night. And I got Rover post this one time, and I was tired. I was so tired. I hadn't gone to bed on time. I got up for this post. I was just tired, right? And I was not alert. In fact, I was so not alert, I don't know if it's actually possible to, but I apparently did it. I fell asleep while walking and walked into a pillar. And then looked around like at 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody would have seen me, right? But that same night, I was like, oh man, I'm not being alert. I need to crank up my alertness level. And so I'm like, I'm going to pay attention to everything now. About 15 seconds later, I'm falling asleep while walking again. I've never had this happen before, but I turned a corner, and as I turned the corner, I looked down, and I'm like, oh, look, there's a skunk. Oh, you never know where something's going to come, right? Luckily, I turned and ran like a big old wussy. Marine Corps, right? Trained me how to shoot from 500 yards without any kind of assistance, but there's a skunk, run. So then I started thinking about, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, for your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. He ain't ready. Ooh, ain't. I said ain't. My mom would have slapped me for that. You never know where those attacks are going to come from. This morning, for me, was a perfect example of that. The devil was going to do anything he could to get me to not come here this morning. Went over to my parents yesterday. My mom's got this nasty cough. She's had this cough about 2 years now. She hasn't been able to get rid of it. And now they're looking at her lungs and all these different things. My dad's the picture of unhealthy. He's lost a kidney, he had a spot on his other kidney, he's had spots on his lungs, and now he's going through all this vertigo stuff that's going on, and they've found multiple masses on his brain. And so my dad pulls me aside the other day, and he was like, well, I know you guys only have the one car right now, so I want to help you out. I want you to go ahead and take my Miata. I'm like, whoa. That car is 17 years old. It's got 208,000 miles on it. That is your car. This man literally called the highway patrol one time because a woman splashed mud on the side of his Miata. That is his car. And in case you've never seen a Miata, it's very small and I don't fit in it and I don't like it. But he was like, just take it. Keep it at the house as long as you guys need it. Then he tells me they find all these spots on his brain. And they're not sure what they are, but they're doing all these tests. Right? And then I get up this morning. My wife looks at her phone. And her sister's in the hospital. Because her boyfriend has crushed her face in. And I'm like, yeah. I'm usually really good at finding funny in dark places, right? And I've just got nothing. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, now you get to drive for an hour and a half and think about that while you drive. But I was ready. I had been studying. I had been working really hard at it. 20 minutes down the road, I get a call from my wife. She says, my sister's fine. She's back home. And the lady that she's living with has locked all the gates, all the fences to the property, and the sheriffs are waiting for this guy to show up. Good. Glad I was ready for that. I'm glad I didn't back out of what I had agreed to do, what I was called to do this morning. And one of the things it says in the general order is observing everything that takes place in sight or hearing. I have glasses on. My sight's not as good as it used to be. I can still make out most things. I just use them really mostly for reading, right? But I started looking at it because I got a little interested on this. And so I've got it written down here. According to some research, there are many things that can affect the distance that a person can see. It is believed that on average, a healthy eye can see around 3 miles and can see a candle flame from 1.6 miles away. And if it were not for the curve of the earth, because apparently the earth is round. If it wasn't for the curve of the earth, it is believed that the human eye could see hundreds of miles, the average healthy human eye. Depending on how loud a noise can be, it can be heard for up to 15 miles. I personally don't believe that, but part of that is because I can't hear nothing. This year is almost completely deaf. Airplanes for 4 years, they're very loud. And now I work in a warehouse, so we're all lucky I'm not yelling right now, because I get home sometimes and my wife's like, you don't have to yell right here. Because I get at work and I'm yelling so loud they can hear me on the other side of the warehouse sometimes. There's no reason that we should turn a blind eye to anything that we see happening in this world. If you read about something, and I spelled that wrong, that is wrong and goes against God, you see it on Facebook or something like that, that is something that has taken place within your sight or hearing. Right? And I kind of messed myself up when I thought about that, because you think about 15 miles. 15 miles, I can see that candle from 1.6, 3 miles. All right, that's my sight or hearing, right? Yeah, that may be the sight or hearing for this standard, for taking charge of a government property, right? But if I see something going on Facebook, I've taken probably a dozen people off of my Facebook, because the things that they were putting up on Facebook, I was like, I don't need that in my life. I don't need to see that. I had a friend in high school, a very good friend in high school. We did everything together. We hung out every day. We played Final Fantasy VII on my PlayStation 1 all the time. We were swapping Super Nintendo games all the time. I think I just dated myself a little bit, but it's all right. I'm still young too. I'm in that range. But this guy, he actually married one of my wife's good friends when she was growing up. They moved to Canada. His name was Patrick. And now he goes by Jane. And he got very irritated with me because I put something up about Memorial Day, right? Put it up on Facebook about Memorial Day. I get a private message from him. Why are you mentioning Memorial Day? Because it's Memorial Day, dude. Like, we're thinking it's not just barbecue day. These are people that have died for this country that we live in. And he goes, well, first off, I live in Canada now. So, okay, that's like America Junior, whatever, right? But then he goes, well, why are you having a day to recognize warmongers and child killers? I said, oh, buddy. That was the end of that right there. That was something that took place in my sight or hearing. And I wasn't going to stand for it. I don't talk to him anymore. That was about 5 years ago now, right? But those are those things that are taking place in our sight or hearing. Luke shows us a good example of that in the story of the Good Samaritan, right? That was something that took place in sight or hearing. And we tell people at work all the time, if you see something, say something, right? If you see something, before I was in the preload, I did safety at UPS. I was in charge of the safety program for 6 years. And so I walk around that building and I see every little OSHA violation, every pool of standing water, every little thing that's not where it's supposed to be. But we call them hub snakes. You ever get a package and it's got those plastic bands around it? Well, believe it or not, most of the packages you get have about 8 of those on them when they first get shipped out. By the time they get to you, there's like 2, right? Because these things fall off, they break, they go all over. And so I'll watch my guys and gals, and they'll be loading these cars, and you'll see them, they'll get these things wrapped up around their feet. They start stumbling all over the place. So as I walk around, I see something, I do something. I pick it up, I cut the band, I tie it in a knot, and I throw it in the trash can. But then I see something going on the street, somebody doing something they shouldn't be doing. I just turn a blind eye to it? Nah, we can't let that keep going on. Your third general order, and this is a fun one, to report all violations of orders I am instructed to enforce. I have 4 children. 11, 10, 4, and 16 months. Some very interesting gaps. But I love it. My 4-year-old, that one's the spoiled, rotten one. My kids all tell me all the time, Dad, you love Gracie so much more. No, she's just the baby love. We actually call her that. She's my baby love. She loves that song, right? My 11-year-old will come in and tell me, Dad, Gracie's not sharing. Really? She's 4. Give her the Moana doll and be over. But report all violations. Someone's not sharing. We have told all of them their entire lives. There's 4 of you. I'm not buying. So I've got 4 kids, 3 girls, right? I know every song to Frozen, word for word, right? I'm not buying 3 Elsa dolls. Figure it out. Here's Anna, here's Elsa, here's Kristoff. Boy, you can be Kristoff. Go away. I'm not buying 3 Elsa dolls. So we've taught them their whole lives to share. And then when one of them's not sharing, they come and tell me, and I'm like, I don't care. Right? But that's that order right there. To report all violations. She's literally doing exactly what I've told her to do. Right? There's an old saying in the Marine Corps. A Marine on watch has no friends. This order is what led to this belief. When you are on post, you are basically to tell on anyone for not following the rules. In the barracks, there's no alcohol allowed. And so when you're on barracks watch, and they're completely just gone having a big old party in one of the barracks rooms, as the sentry on post, it's my job to get on the phone, call the barracks sergeant. Yep, we got alcohol. All right, yeah, I know it's 3 a.m, Sergeant. You got to come down here and bust it up. All right, thank you. Man, we were just trying to have fun. Yeah, and I'm just trying to go home. The Bible tells us the same kind of thing, right? 2 Timothy 3:16. All Scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. The Bible tells us straight up, he goes, here's your rules. They're all right here in this. I always love doing that because that visual has so much more effect when you're holding the actual Bible in your hand than when I hold up a tablet. It's all right here. We're instructed to be what the world calls a tattletale. But we do it to make sure that others are safe. And in the case of the child of God, we're making sure people are not going to hell. We're instructed to enforce these rules. We don't want our members running amok. Like I said before, I'm not going to say Stuart did something stupid. It's going to say the member of this church did something stupid. Right? So if we have to have those uncomfortable conversations with people, you want to talk about uncomfortable conversations? Had to pull a guy into the office the other day. Hey, I know you're probably one of my best workers, probably one of my best employees. You put up perfect loads every day. You load 5 cars, 1,500 packages. This guy is literally loading 100 packages an hour some days. But I need you to come in the office with me. I think you're drunk. I love this guy. This guy, since day one, I've worked with him. He tells me every day, man, I respect you so much, Stu. Thank you. I respect you too, man. Let's get this done. Let's get it. Let's go home today. Hey, man, come here. I think you're drunk. I think you're high too. So we're going to test you. He was drunk and he was high, and I had to fire him. But if I take that so serious, why do I find out that I've got a church member who's doing the exact same thing and I don't say anything to them maybe? You know, I just go, nah. No, that doesn't fly. We have to say something, right? Fourth general order: to repeat all calls from posts more distant from the guardhouse than my own. I actually had to look up what that one meant because I had no idea. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But the idea is, this order is to pass on what orders you have received that other watchmen would need in order to be successful. And see, I was one of those lucky few. I say lucky few now, but at the time, I was so mad. I never actually got to deploy during my time in the Marine Corps. Never got to go to Afghanistan. I was so mad, and I look back at it now and some of the stories my buddies have told me, and I'm so glad I didn't. But, so my understanding of how everything worked was contained to the base and this base over here, and, you know, something goes wrong, you pick up the phone, you call them, you go, hey, this is going on. But when you think about it in terms of like Afghanistan, where you may have the base right here, right? But then way out here on some dirt road, there's like 5 Marines that are just standing at, seriously, a ticket booth with a little arm that goes up and down, that have no phones, maybe a radio that sometimes works, right? You are the lifeline to them of what may be coming at them or what we may be doing. Hey, this base just got attacked. We got to pull everybody out of here and we got to fall back. And those 5 knuckleheads are still sitting out there because they have no idea, because nobody relayed those orders. Matthew chapter 28, verse 19. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. Jesus literally gives us the order, because remember, we're supposed to follow all orders, right? He literally gives us the order to spread the word to all the nations, everyone that does not know about him and have a personal relationship with him would be considered more distant from the guardhouse, right? This guy that I work with, who doesn't know Jesus, who doesn't have a personal relationship with God, who is on the fast track to hell, and if you talk to him, he's totally okay with that. He's like, whatever, I'm cool with that. At least I'm having fun now. He is more distant from the guardhouse, from this building, from hearing the truth than I am. So it's my responsibility. Remember, we talked about that at the beginning. It's my responsibility to spread the word to that person, because he has no idea what he's missing. He thinks everything's all gravy right now. Fifth general order is to quit my post only when properly relieved. When I first started looking at this one, I was like, I knew that one was coming up, because that was the one general order I always got right, because it's the shortest one. And it deals with my favorite thing, getting off of work. I love to get off of work. And so that was the one I always remembered. Sixth general order, I ought to quit my post only when properly relieved. Didn't even have to think about it, right? And so I'm thinking to myself, well, that's what it means. And so when I got to this, I was like, I already know. In our walk, it's, we're not done until we're dead, right? Kind of, sort of, yes, no, maybe. You're not allowed to leave your post until the next watch relieves you. You want to see the quickest way you can get in trouble in the military? Walk away from your post. That's the end of your career right there, Okay. When I think about this, I also start thinking, I'm gonna make myself a little bit of a nerd here. Star Trek, the new Star Trek movies, the ones that they've just been remaking. There's a scene in that movie at the end where Captain Kirk goes to Pike, is his name, and he's relieving him from his command of the Enterprise. And he tells you, "You are relieved, sir." And he responds with, "I am relieved." Right? Great example of this almost this changing of the guard is Deuteronomy 31. 31? Yep. And you've got Moses passing on his command to Joshua. And there's this whole thing where he pulls him aside and he pulls him up in front of the people and tells him, "I'm not going. My time's done here." But he's taking over. And I thought it was a perfect picture of that because God wasn't done with him until he was done with him. But he wasn't done with him until there was somebody else to take his spot. Right? God's never going to leave us in total chaos. He's never going to just be like, "All right, and there's no longer a leader. Figure it out." Trust me, there has to be someone, we have leaders for a reason. Like I said, my son thinks it's hilarious that I just tell people to work harder all day. It's 115 degrees in in Fresno right now. Well, not right this second, but on Friday it was 115 degrees. In our warehouse that has no air conditioning and is packed full of about I think we put 250 cars out on road on Friday. There's 250 UPS package cars that are all backed up to all the doors, so there's no air moving through the building. There's 13 unload doors with 53-foot trailers backed up against them, so there's no air moving through them. That building is a nice, crisp, probably 135 degrees. We are spending about $1,000 every other day ordering water so that it's constantly coming to the building. We are going through probably 200 pallets of cases of water a week trying to keep our employees hydrated because it's hot, right? And I'm standing there telling them to go faster. You're not working hard enough. You're not sweating enough. I actually had a guy come down the other day out of the unload, and I was like, "You're too clean, dude. Go work on coffee." I said, "What?" I was like, "Your hair still looks good. Go work on coffee." And that's what my employees think. They're like, "Man, this guy's just a jerk." Oh, yeah. But at the same time, there needs to be the leader. There needs to be that head, right? That's almost controlling everything. I had a guy come up and he was like, "This isn't fair. You're not doing your job right." And I said, "All right, I got you. Here's the staffing sheet. Go ahead." He's all, "What?" I was like, "I want you to figure out where all the 152 employees are going to go. By the way, you have to know each and every one of them by name, where they're working, what their set is, how much volume is going, how many bulk stops are they getting, how big are the packages, how much room do they have, is the car parked correctly?" Because that's always fun. There's 1,000, we call it 1,000. It's a bigger vehicle. And instead of the 1,000, they parked a 500, half the size, because they got the wrong car in that spot, right? Well, now I'm trying to put 600 pieces in a car that can hold 100. There you go. Go figure it out. Right? There's leaders for a reason. We don't always see what those leaders are doing, right? And I'll finish on this little note here, because for me, I was looking at this the other day, and it really it's an eye-opener. It really got me thinking. if you want a real eye-opener, because this is what we're dealing with here, especially in the state of California. If you really want an eye-opener, ask your pastor, who's next in line? If something were to happen and it would take you out, who's going to take over? Moses didn't have any concern about that. He knew who was taking over for him. He had been working with him. He had prepared him. Who's going to take over? Because there's not very many, there's a big shortage of men to lead out in churches nowadays. It's hard. It's uncomfortable. I was talking to Pastor Sean the other day, and he was like, yeah, man, I'm basically on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You have to hold yourself to that military standard. You have to hold yourself way up here. Who's next in line? Who's going to take over? That's where we as the men that are here need to be looking at that next generation. I tell my manager right now, my boss, is grooming me. He said, he's making me the next manager for the preload. He wants me to take his spot when he leaves. And he told me one of the things you need to do, even though it's years down the road, it's not happening it's not like it's going to happen tomorrow, but he said, who's going to take your spot? Because when I left safety, I didn't train my replacement. And now we're 2 years later, and man, that safety program is a mess. Everything's jacked up. And guess what? It's falling back on me now. Everybody's coming to me, hey, you need to fix this. You need to make this right. You need to correct that. We need to be training the next batch. And that's what I have for today. Do we have a verse of invitation or anything?